In this video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons that you miss every single shot. If you're having problems hitting your shots consistently and you really want to line up headshot after headshot and dominate, you got to watch this video to the end. Smash the like, subscribe, and go to the Game League website down below for high quality pro breakdowns, in-depth tips and tricks, mechanical guides, and so much more. Do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, I've been doing a lot of VOD reviews on the side recently, and I've been really able to see what are the big problems that are plaguing people in many different ranks, from Iron all the way to Diamond. What are the big things that are hurting players the most? And one of the biggest ones that I see is just inconsistency with aim, mechanical inconsistency. Good aim in Valorant can really climb you all the way to Platinum and Diamond and even beyond, depending on how good your aim is. But a lot of people have very bad aim habits. They're consistently whiffing very easy shots. And I wanted to talk about the 5 big reasons why you whiff and different things that you can incorporate in order to hit shots consistently. Now, the first big problem I see is the constant committing to a spray every single time. Typically, this is incorporated by a crouch. You turn the corner, you see an enemy, you see multiple enemies, you start shooting and you spray and you hold crouch. And that's what a lot of players do, especially the lower in rank you go. Now, the problem with this is it's super bad versus good movement. If you don't hit a whiff with that first dink and an enemy takes a couple steps to the right, a couple steps to the left, or just, moves or runs away or whatever, you're probably gonna whiff the majority of your shots, and it's gonna be very easy for that person to take a couple steps to the right or left and dink you in the head because you are a stationary target, not moving at all. Now, what you should actually be doing instead is tap or burst, and you wanna move a few steps to the right or left direction before you take another set of shots. This will often cause them to miss. If you're up against someone who does that crouch spray thing, and you take a couple of shots and then you take 2 steps to the left, now they are going to just be completely off. If they commit to the crouch, it's really easy for you to dodge their first couple of shots, make sure that you don't die immediately, and then easily kill them afterwards because they're going to be that stationary target committing to a spray. Now, this is why I always tell you to practice your counter strafing isolated in the training room, where you shoot a little bit in one direction, like a 3-round burst. You take 2 or 3 steps to the left, you counter strafe, and then you shoot another small grouping. Then you go back to the right, another small grouping, back to the left, another small grouping. The idea here is you're practicing that little tiny bit of distance where you're shooting in one spot, you take a couple steps to the left or the right, and then you shoot a little more, a tight grouping that is first shot accurate because of counter strafing, and then you go back in the other direction, back and forth, back and forth. You can turn on your weapon or your crosshair inaccuracy so you can easily see if you're doing this correctly. And this allows you to be more confident in your mobility and allow your burst plus your mobility to make you more elusive, and you're going to be able to punish a lot of bad players far easier, and you're just learning really good gunplay fundamentals. Now, that being said, many people ask me, should they crouch at all? Should they unbind crouch? And while I do think that unbinding crouch could be okay if you have a really bad habit that you can't break, you should not be unbinding crouch when you're trying to play your absolute peak, because crouching can be good in a lot of different situations. It's not bad always. If it leads to a kill, if you're able to use it to control that spray and it leads you to a confirmed kill against a single opponent, it can be good. But it's very bad against opponents where, one, you end up whiffing those first shots, you don't dink them immediately, and then, like I said, they move to the left or the right and they're able to easily kill you, or you take too long in your spray control battle and they just dink you in the head because you're a stationary target. And 2, it can be very bad against multiple opponents because you're not going to be able to spray kill 2 enemies very easily. Now, that being said, sometimes you're forced to commit to a fight, and that is when crouching becomes even better. So let's say you're very, very close to an enemy, like they're right in front of you, and you know that moving to the left, moving to the right, that's not gonna work because you're right in front of them, and you need a very fast time to kill. Or maybe they have a weapon where they're not even trying to dink you in the head, like a stinger or maybe even a shotgun or whatever. In those situations, mobility is not going to save you, but hitting your shots as fast as possible is. So you don't have time to reset, take any steps, and try to line up a headshot. You just need to commit to that fight, and crouching is okay in that situation. Another example is you turn the corner and you see two enemies, one closer to you and one further away. You can counter strafe dink the one further away, but the closer one is not going to let you get away very easily, and you know that you're very likely to die within a fraction of a second. Whether you take a step to the left or the right, regardless, you're going to die very, very quickly if they just spray you center mass. In that situation, crouch, spray controlling, and trying to convert into the headshot of the close opponent might be your best bet in order to win. Essentially, fights that you have to commit to and have to win, oftentimes crouching can be okay, but in general, you lose a lot of that mobility, and crouching is one of the easiest ways to lose 1v1s in the mid or far distances especially. Now, another reason why you miss your shots a lot, or you're not converting your shots into kills, is you don't understand the core idea that not every spray needs to be a kill. Some peaks and some challenges can be just to deal damage. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if you peek a sightline, oftentimes doing a couple bits of damage, let's say you had a tiny burst and you did, 2 bullets to the body, you missed 1 shot, you hit 2 to the body. Instead of trying to full commit to that shot when the enemy is trying to line up that perfect headshot back to you, oftentimes you can peek out with the intent to just do a little bit of damage and then back off. If you hit the dink, sure, you're good to go. But if you didn't, you basically did that little bit of damage and then dipped out. Basically what this is a damage peak that prioritizes living and mobility over getting the guaranteed kill. Basically, this is your goal. You're gonna walk out, you're gonna counter strafe, you're gonna take a small grouping of shots, 2, 3, 4 shots, and then you're gonna dip out. Regardless of whether you got the kill, regardless of whether you hit the enemy or didn't, or whiffed all your shots, the plan is to output a very precise amount of damage and get out of there. And this allows for much more consistent gameplay. It makes it so there's a much less need for dinks, because after that enemy is low, you could easily commit to the next challenge you go up against them, and you don't need to hit headshots because they're already weak. And if you don't quite understand what I'm talking about, go watch any streamer play, just watch how they take duels, and you'll notice that there are many situations where they challenge an enemy, deal some damage, and don't fully commit to that fight anyways, but they will revisit that person later, and they'll use that damage later on to finish off the enemy, but they're not just only challenging an enemy and either killing them or fighting and shooting until they kill them. That's setting yourself up for failure, because remember, your first shot accuracy is really fading fast. So this is allowing you to have mobility heavy living engagements that really get to utilize your first shot accuracy. You're getting in, you're utilizing those 3 to 5 bullets, and then you're getting the hell out. Now, the next big mistake that I just see often in VOD reviews is just players that hold angles too close. Their crosshair placement is typically decently good, like it's head level, but they're holding it way too close for a wide swinging angle. Oftentimes, you need to put it quite a bit further across the wall, especially when people are more likely to just alpha swing you. I think that happens more in the lower ranks. And if an enemy jiggle peeks that corner and they know where you are, this directly leads me to my next point, where if an enemy finds out exactly where you are standing, for whatever reason, you have to reposition. You absolutely have to, unless you far outrange their effective range with something like an operator, and even then it's very, very risky. Basically, the fusion of peeker's advantage plus known information about you equals you're going to die 100% of the time up against a good enemy. Because if you're holding an angle, and let's say you're just holding that angle, you're posted up at that angle, and an enemy jiggle peeks you, and you don't move. Now the enemy can swing out, and they have a slight bit of advantage because of peeker's advantage. Their crosshair placement is already perfectly locked in on your head, so by the time you even realize what's happening, you're already dead. Basically, if an enemy finds out where you are for any reason, it is always correct for you to change your position, or at least make the enemy assume that you did. You don't always have to change your location, but you need to make sure that the enemy doesn't 100% know where you are. So let's say you're tucked in a corner as Neon, the enemy knows you're there. If you throw your wall across and now there's a possibility you're there, it makes it a little bit harder on the enemy. or if you threw a cipher cage, or maybe you changed up your angle to where maybe you were playing the edge of the corner. They saw that, they jiggle peeked that. In between that, you moved and you played an off angle in the middle, and the enemy swung around thinking you're at the corner, but you're somewhere else. You get a kill back on them, and then you dash away, or whatever the case may be. Basically, whenever you give away your information about your location, whether you're hiding in a smoke or let's say you're in a Viper ult, I see this a lot. I saw this a lot because I've done multiple Viper VODs where a Viper would be holding their ult inside, an enemy would come at them and they would kill that enemy, and then they would stand in the exact same spot and wait for the next enemy. And then typically enemies would swing them knowing exactly where they were, or they would just get sprayed and killed in their own Viper's pit. It's very important that once that information is known to one person, it's known to everyone on the enemy team. So that's just a really great general rule of thumb, and it's gonna allow you to live a lot longer and get those consistent kills much easier. But if you have any questions, definitely let me know, and go to the Game Leap website right now for high quality, advanced weapon guides, mechanic courses, and so much more. If you really wanna quickly dominate the opposition and gain immense mechanical skill, you gotta go check it out right now down below.